In a quaint seaside town, Priya's story became a legend. She had gone from a shy girl struggling to speak English to a confident storyteller, and now she was determined to help others discover the magic of language learning through stories. After returning from her year in England, Priya noticed that many people in her town had the same challenges she once faced. Most had learned English in school but couldn't use it confidently. Some had memorized grammar rules, while others had tried expensive courses but still felt nervous when speaking. Priya understood their struggles all too well, and she wanted to help them find the same joy in learning that she had discovered. One day, she approached the town library with an idea. "I'd like to start a program called English Through Stories," she told the head librarian, Mr. Banerjee. "I believe learning a language should be fun, and I want to show people how stories can help them connect with English in a natural way." Mr. Banerjee, a kind-hearted man with a love for books, was thrilled. He had watched Priya grow up and knew about her recent success abroad. He was more than happy to support her idea and even offered to help organize the program. Together, they decorated a small room in the library, filling it with comfortable chairs, colorful posters, and stacks of books in English. They called the room the Story Corner, a place where anyone, young or old, could come to learn English through tales, fables, and novels. The program quickly caught the attention of the community. At first, only a few people showed up, mostly children and their parents, curious about Priya's methods. But word spread about her unique approach, and soon, a mix of people began joining, from school children to shopkeepers, and even a few retired villagers who had always dreamed of learning English. Each session, Priya began with a simple story, something everyone could follow. She chose classics like The Hare and the Tortoise, Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Jack and the Beanstalk. She would read aloud, slowly and expressively, while everyone followed along with their own copies. For many, this was the first time they had listened to English spoken in a way that was meant to be understood and enjoyed, rather than tested. As Priya read, she would pause to explain new words or phrases. Rather than translating them, she described them, acting them out or drawing simple illustrations on a whiteboard. Soon, even the children could understand bravery when she talked about Jack climbing the beanstalk, and curiosity when they read about Goldilocks trying the 3 bowls of porridge. Priya encouraged everyone to guess meanings from the context, showing them that understanding didn't always require knowing every word. By the end of each story, Priya asked the group to retell it in their own words. This was intimidating at first. People stumbled, hesitated, and even laughed at their mistakes. But Priya would cheer them on, reminding them that mistakes were part of learning. Over time, they grew more comfortable, and even the shyest participants began speaking up. It was the first time many of them had spoken English without the fear of being judged, and they found themselves enjoying it. As the weeks passed, Priya introduced longer and more complex stories. They read parts of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, laughing at the whimsical characters and surprising twists. Each session, Priya would add new elements, like reading dialogues aloud as a group, turning the room into a playful theater. She'd encourage everyone to take on different voices and accents, reminding them that speaking English could be expressive and fun, not just a strict exercise in pronunciation. One of Priya's favorite additions to the program was Story Saturdays, a special monthly event where people shared stories from their own lives, but in English. She began each Saturday with a story of her own, describing her time in London, her embarrassing first moments as a new English speaker, and her dreams of travel. Inspired by her openness, participants began sharing stories too. A young boy shared his first adventure catching a fish, a baker talked about making his first batch of bread, and even an older woman spoke about the time she traveled to a distant city alone. These stories, told in simple English, brought the group closer together, building confidence as they connected with one another. Eventually, people from neighboring towns heard about Priya's program. Students, teachers, and even local business owners came to the story corner to learn, curious about the way Priya taught English through stories. They were amazed at the program's impact. Members of the group who had once been nervous and shy now spoke with ease and pride. They'd learned new vocabulary, but more importantly, they'd gained a natural sense of how to use the language. One day, Priya received an invitation to give a presentation about her methods at a regional education conference. She was nervous. Speaking in front of hundreds of educators was a daunting task. But she remembered her own journey and how far she'd come. She knew that sharing her story could inspire others to see learning differently. At the conference, Priya stepped onto the stage, looking out at a sea of faces. She took a deep breath and began by telling her own story of learning English. She shared how she had struggled with grammar rules and vocabulary lists until she found her love for reading stories. Then, she described her program and the success of the Story Corner, where people from all walks of life had found joy in learning English through tales and storytelling. By the end of her talk, the audience was moved. Educators from different regions wanted to implement similar programs, realizing that language was best learned when it was connected to emotions, stories, and human experience. Priya left the conference with a heart full of pride, knowing that her journey would continue to inspire others to learn English with warmth and patience. Back in her hometown, Priya's program blossomed. She published a small book, English Through Stories, a journey, where she shared her method and included some of her favorite stories and activities from the program. The book became popular among teachers and language learners alike. Her method spread far and wide, reaching people she never imagined it would touch. People from different countries began writing to her, sharing how her book had inspired them to learn English with their children, their friends, and even their co-workers. Years later, Priya still returned to the Story Corner, where she read new tales and listened to new voices. She watched as each person took their own first steps into English, knowing the journey that awaited them. She continued to be a guide, a friend, and a storyteller, sharing with others the gift that stories had given her. Priya's town became known as a place where people of all ages and backgrounds learned English not through tests or rote memorization, but through laughter, connection, and the magic of stories. And as each person turned their last page, finished a sentence, or told their own story, they took with them a piece of Priya's journey, A reminder that learning English, like all things, begins with a story well told.